Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of a new podcast we're starting called The Burning Bush. My name's Spencer.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Zach.
And we're all Jewish teenagers from Houston, Texas. And we're here just kind of talking about life from the perspective of our demographic as, you know, young people living in this major metropolitan area. We're going to start off this episode by talking about technology. And especially when it comes with that, because technology is so prominent in our daily life, how that influences like technology addiction. I think that's definitely been overlooked in our age group. Like, I think with other generations who are older than us, you definitely see them. This could be just because they're older or because they have less connection to technology. Obviously, there's the whole cliche of like people not knowing about technology. People also use it less.
I don't know. We grew up with it, like in our childhood.
Yeah, so when they say like it's unhealthy for us, it's really just normal. It could possibly be unhealthy, but like it's kind of integrated into our lives to a point where like it's like so natural for us that it might not be unhealthy, and they see it as unhealthy because they're just not used to it.
Even if it is, and isn't it like we can't just let go of it so easily?
It's rooted so deeply in our foundation
because we have to move forward.
I honestly don't know if I'm addicted to technology. I've tried to limit it, but because I'm just on it constantly, I can't tell whether or not like what I'm doing is unhealthy, because mentally I don't notice any problems that are related to smartphone use and technology use, but
what I see is like it's not really the using of the like technology. It's kind of like you know how like you're like talking on a social media platform. It's like so easy to just talk to someone and say like whatever you want because you're not talking to them face to face, and that's what's unhealthy. You're able to like say whatever you want to whoever you want, however you want, with like an anonymous identity. They don't know who you are, and even if they do, it's just like way easier to talk because you're not like talking to them face to face, and that's what's unhealthy. Not even because you're building like a false foundation of like a relationship.
Not even just talking with someone anonymously. I know so many people who just live through their smartphones. Yeah, when I meet them in person, like their personality, like when I'm in front of them, is so different from their personality in their smartphone, because when you're on social media, you can present this artificial version of yourself, and some people I think have gotten so rooted in that idea of just like being able to put on the best perception of yourself, and it just leads to like smartphone addiction. I think that's what it is.
Well, like think about this, like every time we sit down at lunch, and like is there ever a moment where or like even for more than like a few minutes where not a single one of us is like doing something on our phone while we're like everyone else is having a conversation?
Like never been seen before at our lunch.
I think it's really a big. I'm curious often about like what it's like growing up in a time not now when you don't always have that escape from whatever you're doing. Like at camp, obviously, I go to a summer camp that's a sleepaway camp, and I go there for about a month every year. And they don't let you use phones, obviously. But what I've realized there is like when you are cut off from that relationship with technology and that easy just distraction on social media and stuff, you are so much more, I don't want to say connected because that's very cliche and it's not a very like good portrayer of the point I'm trying to make, but I think when you aren't given that opportunity, you definitely have a more genuine personality, and I think a lot of the times when we're on phones, it definitely leads to like fakeness being portrayed at a higher rate. And it's so much easier to do.
Yeah, you just like you get used to it.
There's also that
you're always doing it on the internet.
where like you're at like a social event and you just like get on your phone instead of like enjoying like having other people around you, and that's also what's like unhealthy with having like a phone in general.
Yeah.
Do you
just kind of like,
do y'all think like in the future this will continue to be a problem, or do you think people like will realize it? Because I think like I don't know, I've realized it, but I don't think a lot of other people really have understood that the lifestyle that everyone is living is very unusual and probably unhealthy, at least mentally.
Yeah.
well, I mean, I hear like from like adults, and they're like, yeah, I used to like bike over to someone's house, and like you like couldn't text, you couldn't email, you know, you had to like actually go over and see them in person. And I like kind of wish I had that, because that's like pretty cool. You could like just randomly show up at someone's house and they'd be like, yo, what's up, and you don't have to like constantly like text them and be like, you know, blah blah.
And that
blah,
must
blah,
make
blah.
like every time you see like people, that's got to be like more meaningful.
Yeah,
than it is
definitely more
nowadays.
meaningful, because now you can just like, and also like the way people text now is just like at first like people texted like full sentences. Now there's like all these like random like words that are just like a bunch of other words smushed together.
It's totally influencing culture.
Yeah, and it's kind of just
without a doubt.
yeah,
Like memes.
like memes. Yeah,
Memes are just like it's memes are proof that our attention span has gotten so like stupid because we just like need it, I don't know.
Yeah,
I love memes, but like
memes are great.
but the fact that we're just constantly scrolling through stuff on our phone and
It sucks you
looking for like stuff that'll make us like laugh or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
just-
we're not even laughing.
I mean-
we're just kind of like entertained.
I think it's definitely ruined motivation also because like you're
Yeah.
able to get that really quick just burst of entertainment whenever you want.
Yeah.
Literally, it's always accessible.
And that
Yeah.
and that feeds the addiction.
Totally, it's
And
like
that's what makes people more bland.
it's like
They,
being able to press a button and like
It's like
feel
it's
better.
like press button to get entertainment and feel better, and it's just like right there.
yeah. So
Like-
people are going to abuse that 100%.
Oh yeah.
They don't, for most teachers in our school though, they don't let you use phones.
Yeah, they'll like kind of just tell you put that away,
And-
or they'll just take it from you.
And I don't know if y'all have noticed this, but like at school, there's so much more actual like communicating. Because when I have like people over or I'm at like some sort of like event or something, it's like everyone just sort of like in their own world,
Yeah.
like on their phones. And because I think deep down, a lot of people are afraid of that.
Real interaction.
Of like having to start a conversation and being afraid
Yeah.
of like awkward silences that they're so tempted to just like shut everything out and like I'm on my phone, like I can't be
They're too
boring.
scared to risk it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like I just kind of am starting to understand, like the addiction of using your phone. Like about like 2 months. I'm saying like too much. Okay, about 2 months ago, I like stopped using my phone as much because I use this little button on your like on an iPhone called Do Not Disturb, and that like definitely helps a lot. Like during school, I was using my phone too much, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna try it. I turned it on, didn't pay attention to my phone the whole day. I'm like, okay, that was pretty great. And like ever since then, I've not been using my phone as much. I went to Spain, Do Not Disturb, didn't touch my phone at all, and I've just like left it on ever since, and it's totally helped. I haven't been attached to my phone nearly as much. I've not been on social media as much. It's kind of, I can like enjoy my world instead of having to like, also like besides feeding myself, it's like the responsibility you have to also respond to people, and it's not even real conversations you're like responding to, and that's just like.
While there's all this like really bad stuff about technology, you also like have to admit, like technology, I think has given so many more people the ability to creatively express themselves. I think technology also has given people so many more opportunities to creatively express themselves. Like this podcast, I think, is way easier to pull off and produce than what it would be in like the 90s or something. And I think
Did podcasts even exist in the 90s?
No, I mean probably, right?
I don't know.
I mean, they were like
We don't even
there
know.
were talk
That's
shows, but I don't know if they were like podcasts.
I mean, that's like close to the same thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Regardless, like you kind of need like a high budget professional setup to either make music or make podcasts or like create basically anything. It just got like that process has become so much more available to everyone, and I think it's also led to a huge expansion of culture in general. Just because like music now, like back then,
music was just a thing you listened to, and you didn't really like embrace yourself in it.
And
now, like, there's a whole culture that goes along.
There are
with every
fewer
single
popular
genre
artists.
of music now.
People bought music back then.
That is very crazy.
Yeah, now we just stream.
We
it.
occasionally buy stuff.
And the
we get on our app and we hit a button and then we play that song, and that's literally
100%.
You don't need to pay
Yeah,
for
it's
anything.
crazy.
It's just like boom music.
It's a subscription-based platform.
Yeah.
And because anyone can make something for anyone to hear, that has resulted in so much more experimentation that goes on with music and with all other platforms, because people just now are able to personalize and customize everything about their entertainment. Like when you listen to music, it's not about like what albums does this store have, or like when you embrace the fact that everything's online and streamable and you don't have to pay for it. Also like movies and TV shows and like YouTube videos, because all of that is so widely just available, people gain a much more personal attachment to their media. Just because there's more media available.
Yeah. In Spanish, in AP Spanish, we're actually talking about technology right now. And I did a little presentation on Friday about how technology helps people kind of spread their awareness of whatever they're doing. It's called a causa social, which is like social like cause, I guess, kind of. And mine was like SOS Nicaragua, which is about like the president of Nicaragua was putting in some reforms that wasn't really satisfying like the working population, and they were protesting, and then the police is like being very, very brutal. And like I saw a video where like the guy's just kind of like protesting, and the police beelines to him, grabs him, body slams him, and starts like beating the crap out of him. And it's terrible. But like doing that project is, you can kind of see how much technology has helped people spread what they want to like share to the community, and that's definitely a positive thing that comes with technology.
It's the spreading of information on a global level. Like, like hours, minutes after it happens, like when something overseas of any political significance occurs.
And technology makes our world kind of like high maintenance, and we're like functioning way faster than we were before.
100%.
But with this, we're kind of getting more stuff done.
Because competition is so much more in your face.
Yeah.
But at the same time, motivation is probably at an all-time low. I'm really, really interested to see what our generation does when it enters the working class.
Oh, yeah.
Cause
how we move forward.
Because, like, I have no idea. There are a lot of people who, like, struggle, even, like, people who get, like, really good grades, people who struggle to, like, complete their homework because they're just, like, always distracted.
Yeah.
They just live in a world of constant procrastination. It's just, they're slaves to their phones. I'm just going back to that old topic. What I was saying is, like, politicians, because of the fact that information is so widely spread and so widely gathered, politicians have to really, really step on their toes now.
Yeah.
Because, because everything they do is constantly monitored, and I'm not going to say anything about, like, specific political candidates, but, like, when, I won't even say if, because everyone's going to mess up and do something that doesn't align with their political views. When they do that, it will be terrible. Like, even if it's something that an everyday American does, just the fact that, like, they, I don't know, like, got a speeding ticket or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that, I feel like the criticism on political candidates is so much higher now because of the spread of information.
I mean, it's kind of in general with, like, I mean, this is kind of broad, but, like, anything that happens on social media, it's kind of overreacted to. Like, if something simple happens, like someone accidentally types something bad and hits enter, people overreact to it on social media on purpose just for, like, attention. And that's kind of, like, definitely a problem because it's just kind of messed up. And people also... Social media can be very toxic sometimes, too, and that's what's not healthy. About how, like, people purposely, like, they don't even have these, like, views towards other people, and they end up saying these things anyway just for the purpose of, like, getting on people's nerves.
And this all comes with what Sean said earlier about how it's so much easier to say, like, bad things or stuff that's hard to say in person just because you're not face to face with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just... I read this article somewhere, it was a while ago, about how the internet and chat rooms, or that's so outdated now, but like typing and text and stuff is a bloodbath and a breeding ground for arguments because you're allowed to speak your entire mind without interruption, and you're able to, like, delete and, like, formulate the perfect sentence that you want to say to someone. So when people get into arguments online, they get so intricate and people are so much more rooted in their argument because they know that they are right and they're so much better able to express that through text.
But that's the problem, too. People get way too into these arguments, and they let it get to them way too easily. You see, like... Someone posts something, and then some random person that made an account just to, like, say something, said something mean, and they just let it get to them. Or they say something political, and someone else is like, oh, this isn't right. And they just they type a whole paragraph, like, that takes up half of your phone screen, and you just see, like, load 10 other comments, and it's just, like, a feed of, like, the same two people, and you let it get way to you, and that's just, like, not correct, and that's unhealthy because... These interactions aren't real.
Right.
Yeah, that's insane. Or back, like, just, like, before the internet, political discussions, like, there's definitely not nearly as much divisiveness.
Yeah. Because you're able to live in your own echo chamber online, and your own, and, like, big technology companies like Google and Amazon, maybe not Amazon, but, like, big technology companies have found ways to, like, to make sure you're only receiving information that agrees with your political views.
Yeah.
Like Instagram, when you, like, on, like, the search thing or, like, YouTube or something, like, you are going to receive suggested videos and media entering your feed that agree with yourself politically. It's meant to push you to a further political extreme. And because of that, we get stronger political extremes because it feels like we're living in two separate nations. And that's what leads to all this crazy intense political divisiveness.
Yeah.
100%.
Going back to that suggestion thing, it's kind of weird. How, well, I mean, like, I have an example. I can't exactly remember what it was, but I think it was my WAP teacher talking about how she was, like, she said, like, whatever. Let's say it was, like, a baby cradle or something.
WAP is World History AP.
Yeah,
okay.
So we were just talking around, and she's like, yeah, like, it's kind of weird how, like, your phone can hear what you're saying, and you say it, like, once. You'll mention, like, you'll say, like, oh, I want this wool blanket, and then you'll see suggestions for, like, a wool blanket on, like, a YouTube video, and then you're like, wait, I didn't even type it into my computer even. And that sucks you in. That, like, that's not our fault entirely. That's those different, like, that's the organization sucking us in to technology, and, like, once you're in there, it's harder to get out. But they're getting profit from it, and that's what's
I
up with the
don't
economy.
have as much of a problem with that as people say I should, just because like.
I mean, it's smart, but I
don't think it's doing anything to hurt us. Like, I think like there are a lot of people like you're using your privacy to pay for free websites, and they're trying to like scare you. But unlike a lot of adults, me growing up with that technology, I have I just am not afraid of letting a company know that that I want this pair of sneakers. Yeah. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, like who's looking at that information?
Like it's not anything that's gonna be
I wasn't saying it's bad. It's interesting. You know?
Right. But also like when you talk about that, you also have to talk about like how easy it is to like steal millions of dollars from like anyone.
Yeah.
With like credit card information and like scams and stuff. It's a lot easier than people think.
Mm-hmm.
Like
definitely.
Yeah. I think
it's fake scanners
for
like
most people, if they really wanted to, like, it's incredibly easy.
Well, no, think about it this way: if anyone really wanted to, they could teach themselves within like a couple months how to hack into someone's like account for like anything.
I heard this story about
and just like take someone's information and money just like that.
I heard this story about some guys who looked up the instruction manual to an ATM machine.
Yeah.
And like figured out how it worked, and they just looked it up online. And once they had that information, they could just like break into an ATM machine and steal hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, it just seems like we're all living on this like very, very delicate surface that if like that we're all just kind of trusting each other to not do that.
But that's good.
How often do y'all get
what
like
society is?
How often do you or your parents get charges to your credit card that aren't y'all?
I've heard my dad complaining about it a ton. Like let's say I'm like I have like Xbox Live and I buy something and my dad gets like more charged to his credit card. I'm like, no, I didn't pay for that.
There's just so much complexity.
To like re-get it. He has to get like a new credit card and everything. It's kind of weird.
We've like probably gone through like in the past like 5 years like 2 or 3 sets of credit cards, just because like either like my dad was afraid something might be happening, or like something actually was happening. And I think like I don't think we've ever gotten it like physically stolen. It's all just been like somehow someone got our number. Yeah. It's just it's such a delicate system that's so easy to exploit. I think it's like it's incredibly dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And because like earlier, like in time, like in the 80s and 90s, well, they had credit cards then, but like earlier, people just used paper currency.
Mm-hmm.
And just the difference between that now we have like a card that is literally just like a money machine, a thing machine.
Yeah.
We just give them our card.
It's like here's a little plastic thing that links to all the money I have.
It's a plastic rectangle, and I give it to you for 3 seconds, and I take anything I want from your store. Like it's such like there's no reality in it anymore. When you work at a job, you're not getting like money in return. All it is like you're working at your job, so your rectangle of plastic now like now has a different code, so when you swipe it you get more
it gives
stuff.
The equivalent to paper money if you want to.
Right? No, it totally does, and it's still like counted.
But now people are like pushing towards more
cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and just like currency that's not physical.
Yeah,
and that's more dangerous because then people are going to start wanting to more and more hack into people's like bank accounts and get their money. I think it's
still going to be like a little while before cryptocurrency actually emerges.
Yeah, there's like ways around getting your cryptos hacked.
Right.
My dad is dabbled in that sort of stuff.
Don't we use Bitcoin? Don't
Oh, Bitcoin.
Yeah. Bitcoin is like
It kind of shook everyone. It was kind of weird.
It rose like a
It was
lot.
A lot. There was this one rapper. I can't remember who.
16,000.
There was this one random rapper. I think it might have been 2 Chainz or something, that invested into Bitcoin like very, very early, and out of nowhere comes back and sees you got like a profit of $2 million off of Bitcoin, and that was just kind of like showed how much it grew.
That's crazy. Yeah. I think like with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and like all that online stuff, everything I just feel is becoming way less personal. Like, this is just going back to the very first thing we talked about like the reality is just becoming secondary to an online environment.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen Ready Player One?
Oh, yes,
I just recently saw it.
No, I was just thinking about that as you were saying that.
It kind of was like creeping into my mind.
Really?
Because that's what our world can
Yeah, I watched it,
definitely
like, 2
become,
weeks
because
ago.
we're just gonna start like immersing ourselves into the internet so much and like online space that it's gonna become like our whole life, and we're gonna end up being like that one kid that just sits in like a trailer but has like a bunch of money in their own little like world online, and
it's a very scary thing to think like that could become.
And are people gonna like blow up your house to get your online currency?
Yeah, like, but you like, how would you even get the online currency? It's just weird to think about it that way, because our world could definitely end up like that. If
the gamers are gonna rise up.
The gamers will rise.
All right, I think it's a pretty good place to stop. So thank you guys for listening. I think we're gonna wrap up there. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining us on The Burning Bush.
I'm gonna put my phone on Do Not Disturb.